this dude, Young Ripper. Woo-wee! So impressive. So inspiring. And this dude might be the biggest white pill of the year. In a year of white pills, optimistic incidents. Young Ripper. That's this dude, man. I can't. I don't even know what to say, man. I've been in his live. I listened to almost every minute of his lives. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then yesterday, I probably missed the last half an hour or so. So I've been listening to like literally 9 hours of this dude. Man, the vibe. It's just so positive. It's just so amazing. It just shows you the power of culture. If you want to know why I'm talking about a comic book while all this other stuff is going on, I might not be good enough at articulating why it's more important than all of it. Far more important. I'm going to try though. Young Ripper. The Rippaverse. If you don't know, let's take a trip and let's look at the website here. I want to look at the website because I want to get a grasp of. Yeah, let me look at this. Look at the comments here. Basil Baby says Eric has been working his tail off for years and has earned his success. And the great thing about this, thank you, Basil Baby. The great thing about this is it's a success for him, but I think it's success for a lot of other people too. And I don't think everyone sees that. I'm going to show you some comments from people who I don't know. I don't think they have bad intent. They're just really, they don't understand. I think they're just missing part of the picture here. Basil Baby said, I'm vining for Eric. Absolutely. Enter the Rippaverse. He will hit it. You look at the energy around this, man. It's like the Salty Army, and he's got a community, as Basil Baby said, for 14 years. That might be the first video on his channel was him running track 14 years ago. He's an OG YouTuber. I haven't been on YouTube for, I don't know, has it been 2 years probably now? Almost, a little bit less than 2 years. This dude's been on there at least 14 years. And let's go to the website real quick. And I got a couple topics. So I'm going to talk about where we're at now. He launched this comic book. I'm going to talk about what it is if you don't know what it is. And I will get into why it's important. But I'm going to talk about what's going on with his launch and how successful it's been. Then I'm going to go into there is a threat to him and every other, even small business out there. I'm going to go into why him being independent is important. Going to actually reference a Lauren Southern video she just came out with a little clip. Talk about the power of community and then decentralization. And that creates the parallel economy. So Eric July has gone from making the transition of talking about the issues and the problems to being a part of the solution, at least attempting to. It's early on, but the success is undeniable early on. How he's going from just talking about this stuff to being about it, which is a very difficult transition. Very risky, takes a lot of capital, money, networking, planning. So it's another level to celebrate. let's go to the website. It's just so good. If you don't know what's going on, I want to make sure you're caught up to date and you understand what I'm talking about here. I'm gonna before I get to this page, I'm gonna go back to just the start of it. This is his website, ripperverse.com. Eric July is a comic book guy. He's always liked comic books. He's always watched comic books or comic shows and TVs and movies and stuff like that. And he's doing his own thing now. And this is big. This is important. Independently. And I'm not going to be talking too much about what's gone wrong with the comic book industry, because that's irrelevant to my discussion right now. I'm happy to have that conversation. But for whatever reason, it doesn't matter what the reason is. Well, it matters to a certain extent, but he's not happy with, and many other people obviously are not happy with what's happening to modern day comics currently. So he's not happy with it. He's been talking about it. And he's a talented person, writer, artist, musician, commentator. And he said, I'm going to make my own comic book franchise. That's what I'm going to do. And that's where we are right now with the launch of Rippaverse. It's not just talking about it, it's being about it. Which, if you're not being about it, and I'm not, it's not something to look poorly upon yourself. You have to be in a certain position. You can't bite off more than you can chew. Eric July didn't think he was going to be in this position until he throws out the age 40, making me feel old. I'm 44. So he didn't think he would be in this position. He always wanted to be in this position, regardless of how good Marvel and DC were, and Disney, who controls Marvel. He always planned on being in this position, but he didn't realize he could be in this position this early. The importance of that is everybody has a role to play. Everybody is at a different position, and there's nothing wrong with that. You have to accurately assess where you are. This dude's been grinding at his craft, crafts, plural, for decades. And he's been planning, saving his money to make this move. And he's like, shoot, I can do it now. So he made that transition. And everybody's at a different stage. I'm at the stage where the best thing that I can do to help somebody who has motivated me, taught me a lot indirectly, highlighted books. I might have learned about Thomas Sowell from him. I'm trying to think who I learned about Thomas Sowell from. I think it was from him. He has the Thomas Sowell poster behind him. You know, so it's an interesting mix to see him. Previously, he had like Batman, who I love Batman stories, and then Thomas Sowell. What what a mix to help. Like, oh, I like Batman also, and this dude likes Thomas Sowell. It reminds me of Napster back in the day. I was an underground hip hop artist. I like classical music, so I would go onto people's Napster. If you don't remember, Napster is just a file sharing program. You could go into their library, and I'll go like, oh, I'm gonna get the whole discography of Tribe Called Quest. And I go into their files and I see they have this group called Portishead. I'm like, well, I like Tribe Called Quest and I like a lot of the other groups they have in their files. I might like this other group that they have, Sneaker Pimps or Portishead. And I download it and it's like, whoa. This is something I really like. And it's the same type of thing with Eric July. It's like, okay, he's got these ideas that you could, and even when I started watching him, probably considered them radical ideas, not in a negative way, but just, even unrealistic or, that type of thing, like, wow, this is really different. It can hit you in the face like cold water. But then you say, well, I kind of like a lot of these other things. I'm going to listen to him, give him a chance, and be open-minded. And that opens a door to independent thought. Thought that you will not get anywhere else. And it is something to be grateful for. When you talk about YouTube, there's a lot of things to complain about. Jason Hinkle, I think you pronounce his name Hinkle. Let me look it up real quick. I hate to. Is it Hinkle? Jason Hinkle from the left. He is very big on the Ukraine-Russia conflict. He got demonetized on YouTube. Convo Couch, it is Hinkle. Convo Couch demonetized on YouTube. Great journalists. So it's easy for me, and I think we should talk about it, complaining about this unconstitutional behemoth that we've created to squash free speech. But Eric July is a part to say, grateful too. A lot of it came through YouTube. Cannot deny that. His intelligence to avoid the pitfalls. I'm sure there's a lot of things he would want to talk about that YouTube won't let him talk about. But like I talked about with Jordan Peterson, he's not going to let those things stop him from being great. And he has a song called Be Great. Thanks for joining. If you're just hopping on, it's just a live to really talk about and continue the celebration about the Rippaverse and to talk about why it's important. Somebody else loves the Portishead. Interpol specialist says, love Portishead and sneaker pimps. I'm Gen X. Yes, that's how I found out about them, through Napster. I didn't have cable TV, didn't see these videos back in the day. I will never forget. That's how I found out about Nirvana. I'll never forget the first time I went into people's files, because I'm like, I like a lot about what they listen to, whether it was De La Soul or Raz Kaz or whatever hip hop person. And then they would have these other groups in there. And I'm like, wait, I didn't really listen to Nirvana too much. My friends in high school did, and I liked it, but I never got into it. Then this is after I was in high school, and I'm like, wow, blows your mind. Jimi Hendrix, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. To this day, I love Portishead. Oh, wow, based inward. Wow, I did not expect this. You see the power of culture. I love that. That's how you connect with people. It's not talking about a hypothetical president who has a crackhead son. We got to talk about that. But this is how you more connect with people who might even disagree on that other kind of stuff. Based Inward said, I have Portishead tattoo on my leg. Word. Any No Doubt fans out there? That's how I found out about No Doubt. And I love, and Gwen Stefani kind of went pop or whatever later, but like what's that album? The one with Don't Speak. Fire. I did not expect that. Wow, Portishead fans is here. Now there are a lot of people who are hip hop fans that are also Portishead fans. If you don't know, what's Portishead? What are they called? What was it called? It was like hip. I forgot the name of the genre. Wow, I'm so out of it now. Trip hop. Just had to look it up real quick. Classic stuff. Thanks, man. No Doubt. Yeah, No Doubt. That album was so good, man. And that's not music I would have normally found. Morchiba. I've heard of them, but I'm not very familiar with them. I will. So this is the same type of thing. I trust you. If you like Portishead, I trust that we're going to have other things. Yeah, you're right. Trip hop. Yep. And that's the power of what Eric July is bringing to the table. So many people in Eric July's live, kind of like myself, were saying, I don't even mess with comic books like that. I might have watched the cartoon in the 90s or something, but I never bought a comic book. And he's created something, and it's hard to put your finger on how he did it, because it's years, it's intelligence, I think it's respecting people, respecting his community, his fans, people who, I don't want to say fans, but the people that he interacts with. Like he authentic though. He's not fake about it. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. And then you have to be good. You have to be talented. So here's the Rippaverse website. And there were bumps when it launched, man. And then there's people like who are talking about like, oh, the website launched and there was more demand than he expected, to, I think, even from his own words, which is a good problem to have. But I was on there trying to order my book and I was a little scared because I want the book I want, whenever the first shipment goes out, I want the book. I've already talked to my kids, 3 and 5, about it. They're excited about it. My son, has drawn out he drew out some superhero he made, Axeman or whatever. And it's just the power of imagination. And I want him to look at somebody like Eric July and see that you don't have to copy somebody else. You can make your own thing and you can do it independently. He's 5 years old. I talked to my 3-year-old also, but he can't even say school properly. So it's probably not all there, but understanding wise, but I'm talking to my kids, he's 5.5 or almost 6, man, when you look at how they're indoctrinating kids and you've got kids in that age group and how they're sponges, it really, for me at least, it really tugs at my heart, man. When people try to lead somebody else's kid. Now, if it's your kid and you want to do whatever you want to do, that's you. But when you take them to school or somewhere else and you're trying to lead them down this path of they're sponges. They just eat it all up. So I'm talking to him about it. I'm like, this dude is Eric July, and he uses some foul language on his show, so I got to watch it. But we watched the trailer, the first trailer, not even actually the second one where he's talking about the story. We watched the second trailer, me and my kid, probably 5 times in a row. And he's looking at it, he's like, oh, that's the good guy, that's the bad guy. Man, it just really brings something special. I will never forget this launch, ever. That's how special it is to me. And there's plenty of other examples of people that are doing this type of thing, trying to do independent work. That's not a knock on anybody else. This is the guy I follow, so I don't know all the other ones. I'm not even into comic books. I think some people think of it, and I'll show a tweet later on where you're kind of giving props to this dude, and other people are like, well, there's a lot of people who are trying to do something here. And it's like, it's not a diss to you. Like, maybe we can build or do something. Like, that's not a diss. But I'm just so happy about it. I was on the website with him. I gave him a choice between Isom and Yaira, which one poster they wanted. My son chose Yaira because the Yaira poster looks like fire. Then my 3-year-old, he couldn't make his mind up, so he's gonna get the Isom one. But let me go to the website. So this is the website here. I think it's really well done. There were hiccups at first because a lot of people, any type of new launch of a website, doesn't matter if you're the government or Disney or whoever, many times when you're doing a whole new thing from scratch, there's going to be hiccups. But so it did feel like I was in there and I was trying to order my book and I wanted to order 2 books and I was like, it's so slow. I was like, let me just get this one book. And because I kept playing around with the options and it was loading, I'm like, forget the option. Just get the book and then come back and get whatever else. And it's working well now. There's no concerns there. And let's show you how well it's working. This dude, Young Rip. Rippaverse Comics, a comic book company for comic book readers. The comic book industry has its issues, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a market. He has proven there is a market, and he didn't create this market. They actually created the opportunity for him. You just want some awesome comics and a place to escape. I think you want that in every industry. That's why the Top Gun movie is doing well. I haven't seen it myself, but from what I'm hearing from the feedback is it's just a escape. Like the movies we used to have back in the day where it was just to go to the movies and they didn't beat you over the head with whatever ideology. Somebody has to bring it back to the essence. Why not us? Great stuff. Let's look at the success, and then I'm going to play the most recent video that my son and I watched at least 5 times. So this is the campaign. Oops, let me get into the campaign here. He's doing this release via campaigns. And let me show you where we're at. So we're looking at his campaign, and I haven't really got clarification on this, but this needs to be updated. Obviously, he set a campaign goal, a humble goal, because to me, he's a humble brother. He's a humble dude of 100 and wants to be realistic. $100,000 revenue. We are only we were a little bit over 24 hours after launch. It launched around my time, 7:30 a.m. yesterday, and we're at 11 a.m. today. Total revenue, almost $1 million right here. Total revenue in less than 48 hours, less than 36 hours. He's almost 1,000% above revenue goal. Unbelievable. 10,000 total purchasers. And for me, a lot of these type of things people buy after payday. So some people might get their paycheck early and you'll see that come up, Wednesday, Thursday. But days to go. Where's the days to go in the campaign? The campaign's a 75-day campaign. I don't know why. That's interesting. I don't see the days to go here anymore. I wonder if they're looking at making an adjustment there or not. But the campaign is going to be 75 days. We're not even fully through the second day of the campaign. $1 million in revenue for just a new comic book, a new launch. And I feel good for him because you could tell he was like, man, I put 200, and he's not asking for any favors. He's not asking for any favors. He's not demanding any support, but he's just saying, like, if you do support, what I do, I put $200K in, $200,000. I'm just like, wow, $200,000 into this, just so you know. And he's got that. He's open to criticism. When the book comes, we'll talk about what's good, what's not, whatever. But this is a great moment. This is what a revolution looks like. It's not in the streets with a megaphone. That's not what a revolution's going to be. It's not J6. That's not what a revolution's going to be. It's going to be building community, building a momentum, building positivity. There's nothing about this that isn't positive. Like nothing. It doesn't even have to do with politics. It's a comic book. So you've got people doing this hashtag, we will win, and coming in talking about what they're excited about. They're excited about a person that they follow, trust, doing something independently. He's not getting investments from some big firm or interest or anybody like that who's going to ultimately control this. It's him. And how is he going to do it? Just storytelling. Just good old storytelling. Here's the type of thing he's selling. I got this book here. The first one, this one. But then after I looked at it, I want this book. So I'm going to go back in here. I'm not going to do it now because it'll show my credit card information and all that. Otherwise, I'd probably do it right now. But I'm going to do this cover B, and I might do the signed one. I think I'm going to do this cover B. It's very popular because it has both of these characters on here, Yaira and Isom. And if you look at it, the Yaira poster is what I use for the thumbnail, has more purchasers than the Isom one even. So I'm going to get this book here. It's a 100-page, about 96-page graphic novel. So it's not like a thin comic. It's probably like 5 comics put together, about maybe even 6, which makes it even more attractive to me. That's not a bad price. The shipping is, whatever. But the $35, that's a fair price for the work put in and to support someone. You know, I'll give him a $35 super chat. Shoot, I'll take a comic book for it. So, you know, there's that. He's got these cards, a t-shirt. I think I might get a t-shirt too, just to rep. This t-shirt looks dope. I like this one a lot. So it has like some of these other, we don't even know who these characters are. We're just now getting introduced to them. But this is dope. That's the movie poster right there. So he's doing his own legit thing on here. He's got these cards. These are not normal cards. They're big cards. On his live, he was talking about, well, people are saying, wait, it's about 11 cards, I think, with all these characters for $100. Well, first, they're collector items. Second, they're not like, you know, cards, like a deck of cards. They're built better. There's information on the back. They have a 3D look to them. He's not ripping anybody off with this at all. I think he probably could have even charged a little bit more, but no, he's trying to charge the right price. So there's the excitement. That's all I'm excited for is a comic book. That's all I want. And Buy the Thing said, properly presented to the right audience. Very exciting. His audience is at its core a comic book. Thank you, Buy the Things. A comic book oriented audience. So he has a good community. This resonates with the community, and it's clearly resonating outside the community too, with all the, you know, talk about it. I believe Salty Cracker talked about it, or I don't know if he talked about it, but his community has been very supportive. I talk about how I don't like people defining community based on skin color. Just because you and I have the same skin color, and you're probably lighter than me, a lot of these black identitarians, most of them are lighter than me. So I don't know how that skin color works. Are you light or dark or whatever? I always talk about that, but they say the black community. And I look at them, I'm like, what is the black community? You don't value any of the things I value. You're out here right now today on July 12th. Some of you are in the black community or whatever community it is. I don't care what color community it is, pushing for lockdowns and masks. We ain't a part of the same community. Like, we're not even close. So Eric July builds a community not based on any type of skin color thing or identity thing. Now, he has in part built it on being a counterpoint to those who do, but that's a completely different thing. So when Eric July launches this, I'm going to transition to what the threat is. He says, I'm going to be uncancelable, and you can't cancel me because I'm independent. Great. And that is a lot harder to cancel. That's the right way to go. But I'm going to bring in what the threat is. I'm not bringing this in to stop the momentum. I'm not bringing this into, there's nothing really, I don't even think you can do about this other than maybe voting for certain people or increasing awareness. But I think it's something to think about. I brought it up with the Daily Wire as well, which obviously is not an independent thing. Like they have investors behind the scenes, but it's the same, but they are open to anti-establishment points of views, and they would be at the same risk. And Young July is making some noise, some serious noise. So there's going to be some serious threat and risk. And hopefully this is the right, this is the right video. This is what I'm talking about. This is the third segment. If you don't know what ESGs are, it is a big deal. This is more important than anything I've told you. As much props as I gave Daily Wire and Jeremy Boring, this is concerning. And they can't change that. So they're doing their thing. But this ESG is designed to stop Jeremy Boring. They know that could happen. It's the same way of trying to control people with. So substitute Jeremy Boring. This is a video I did a while back. Let me know if there's an echo. Substitute Jeremy Boring and the Daily Wire with double audio again. You've got to be kidding me. Daily Wire, and I'm going to bring this back and see if I can fix that. This is with Daily Wire and the threat for what ESG can do to hurt their business. This was actually brought up on Tim Pool when Jeremy Boring was on Tim Pool. I'm going to go on the live through my YouTube so I can address the any echoes. So let me go here and I'll play this. The social credit score is to control companies with a social credit score. That's what ESG is. Robbie the Fire Bernstein did the best job. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, a lot of audio books on ESG because I wasn't very knowledgeable. I'm still trying to get there. But he, out of everything I've listened to, he touched on things that not many other people touched. And he talks about it just like a normal person, so it's easier to digest. And this is my opinion. There's not all ESGs are not all bad, but there's the big problem with them. It's a corporate social credit system used to disguise an illegal racketeering scheme run by our government and big business. I'm going to I'm struggling with feel comfortable enough saying that. I believe that's what it is. I did not practice this one with the echo, so I apologize. But ESG is all it is a social credit score basically for companies. That's the most simple way to put it. There's no direct government involved. It looks like the government is trying to get involved with it. It's indirect involvement with the government. And what it can do is, let's look at it like pretend you have a business and your business is against the narrative or against the establishment groups. Or in Eric July's case, I'm going to stop with the video because I'm struggling with that. But in Eric July's case, what you're going to see is he's going against Disney, for example. Disney is in this corporate credit score system. They would want to stop him now. Just like Tesla. If Tesla started now, Tesla could not have started right now. There's no chance, no way. They would have got squashed. Back then, they tried to short the company when it went public. So where I'm saying is, what you could do is you could see a bank. Eric July, any business has to do business with a bank or lawyers or real estate. You could see it becoming more difficult to say, hey, bank, you can't do this ESG work with this company because they don't subscribe to ESG. They don't have a social credit score. If you want to know how possible this is, just go online and search ESG for small business. They're already trying it. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it's not much you can do about it. I think it's worth noting. But if you go on there, they talk about ESG and small business. ESG and small business, look at this. I've looked at this link here. They even acknowledge, they're like the environmental component. So it's environmental, social, and governance is ESG, the acronym. So what they go on here is say, and they would apply that to Eric July potentially, even his business. He jokes about getting a cargo van. They could say, hey, is the cargo van eco-friendly? You can apply it to any business. Don't think this has to be just like oil drilling and stuff like this. Anybody. They could put on your credit card, hey, you're buying these non-eco-friendly type of items. We're going to lower your ESG score. So even in this here, they say it doesn't just sound nice, this ESG. It's becoming more of a popular metric for investors to predict the future success of companies they're considering. So they wouldn't, Eric July's company is not public, but he's working with these other companies who could be or not. So what it would cause him to have to do is work with other independent companies that aren't a part of this practice. They talk about the standards that it takes into account. And if you're not really subscribing to this, then you could say, hey, you could be labeled as not eco-friendly, racist, all that kind of stuff. They even acknowledge the environmental component of ESG for small businesses can seem like a problem that is too large for small businesses to tackle. But every company can find actionable ways to contribute if they set realistic goals. That's the one concern that I would have. And it's not really a big concern, nothing you can do. I don't think this is going to take over tomorrow, but that where we're going in our world right now, they are going to have to do a social credit score. There's no other way to control people. Eric July is proving it. There's no other way to control the narrative, control people without it. They already have good control over us. You know, hypothetically, in a different world, if you have a leader that has had so much information leaked about a family member, and it does connect to you in foreign dealings and businesses, and no one asks you about it, and one person asks you about it, and he kind of gets dragged out I don't know if he was dragged out, but taken away by security, you don't control anything. In a world where they just announced today that Ukraine's going to get another bill, 1.7 bill or something like that, you don't control anything. So the last bits that they want to make sure that you control, or they control, would be through CSG to not allow somebody like Eric July to rise on up. Eric July, another thing that I want to instill with my kids as an option, I want them to make their own decisions. And there's no right or wrong here. And I'm going to talk about corporations. There is a cost to going with a corporation to get something done. And part of what I'm seeing here with Eric July is that he's been solid in being independent. And there's this video Lauren Southern came out with. There's a lot to unpack in the video, but I'm only going to show just a little section of it. I think sharing it this way, I think I've solved the echo, but we'll see. I'm sharing it a different way than I shared the other one. I'm going to show that in this video, she calls it the whole truth, where she kind of is telling her story on how she rose on up to be prominent. She's going to talk about when she worked for Rebel News, and Rebel News was going to do something, and she was like, I don't know if that doesn't fit my morals, the way that we're doing it. I'm just bringing it, she just brought it up. So I'm going to share it here. She just brought it up. She didn't even make a big, at least in her words, she didn't make a big deal about it even. She just hey, I don't know if I like this. That's all she said. Well, I don't know if I like this. This is an example of corporate America, a corporation. This is Canada, actually, Rebel News, but just any type of corporation. And these are the positives and negatives of it.
Point, I'm on top of the world. I don't think anything's going to change. It's just upward trajectory with Rebel from here. And then I'm sitting at my desk in the office and I get an email. It's from Ezra, and it says the office are going on an Israel trip. We're going to have some fun, try some couscous, make some videos. It'll be great. Okay, so anyways, a few months go by. We're getting closer to the actual trip. And
so what she's talking about, I think I started it a little bit late. Rebel News was going to take this trip back in the day, I don't know what year it was, to Israel. And they were going to they said, hey, promote it like we're on a fact-finding mission so we can raise money from viewers and donations. And what the trip really was, in Lauren's opinion, was just kind of like a tour. They weren't representing the trip in a way that matched her morals. That's the basic of it. So she spoke up. So she kind of spoke up. I'll go back a little bit. She spoke up about it.
I didn't find out, I just believed Milo. I believed Milo at the time about Alum. I believed Milo at the time about Margaret.
This is a very interesting video here. If you have time, it's long and there's a lot to unpack, but it's Lauren Southern's video that just came out a little while ago.
It's communicated where we don't really look into things that deeply if the saints of our movement say it. And yeah, for how proud I was for a lot of my life of I really care about the reality, there were a lot of points where I missed it myself. No one likes to talk about this stuff because it's messy, right? It doesn't make anyone look good. It doesn't make me look good because it makes me look like I'm going to air everyone's dirty laundry. It doesn't make everyone in the movement or conservatism look good because they look like a mess. They look like it's full of people that are stealing money and lying about each other. And I could very easily carry on just making videos. I climb that social ladder, not talk about any of this, and my life would be a lot simpler. But I genuinely can't. I can't. It doesn't feel right. I feel like it's...
I believe Lauren Southern is pretty much independent now. I don't follow her that closely, if anybody in the chat knows, but she's going to get into this Rebel News story in a second.
It's dishonest. I feel whenever I talk about the right wing and when people wonder why I have so much distrust or skepticism or why I don't like the right or isolate myself a bit more, no one really understands why. And I haven't explained any of it because it's just so much. It's so much. And it's easier not to talk about. But yeah, we're about to get into some heavy stuff here. We're about to get into some much heavier stuff. Whew. So 2016, 2017, back to the main storyline. Milo's in hot water over his privilege grant, and I am in some hot water of my own. I just don't know it yet. I've moved to Toronto, working for Rebel, killing it. All my videos are doing fantastic. I'm getting these.
So she's working for Rebel News, big, fairly big. They call it the Breitbart of Canada. And I like a lot of Rebel News' work, but this is a big, pretty much a corporation.
Interviews with Jordan Peterson, first one on SJWs, all his protests, they're going viral. At this point, I'm on top of the world. I don't think anything's going to change. It's just upward trajectory with Rebel from here. And then I'm sitting at my desk in the office and I get an email. It's from Ezra and it says the office are going on an Israel trip. We're going to have some fun, try some couscous, make some videos. It'll be great. Okay, so anyways, a few months go by, we're getting closer to the actual trip. And we start getting emails asking us to do public crowdfunding for the trip and to crowdfund it as a fact-finding investigative journalism mission. No worries. The only problem I had was that when I was speaking to people in the office about the trip and getting itineraries for it, it became pretty obvious that this was a guided tour, not a fact-finding mission. We had, people we were slated to speak to every day. We had a tour guide that was, aligned with an organization that was assisting to fund the trip. And I have no problem whatsoever with guided tours of Israel, people who do these paid for trips to kind of get people to understand the politics and the ideas there. That's not my issue at all. It was that it wasn't being honest with the audience. What we were asked to pitch the audience was that we were going on this like hardcore fact-finding mission when really it was just like a tour guide trip that was already being assisted in funding. So I sent an email to the higher ups telling them, listen, seems like a great trip, seems like a lot.
So I'll just give people, I would consider myself pretty versed in handling corporate situations. That is not something you want to send an email to. That was the first thing. And I'm not, this is not to go after Lauren Southern at all. It's really, I'm going to tie it back to Eric July in a second on why, if you can go independent, why that's liberating. We talk about liberty. Jordan Lotz in the chat, friend of the show, talking about what's up. He got a Dave Smith t-shirt, Fight for Liberty. It's hard to have liberty when you're in a corporation. And that's not even to say anything bad about the corporation at all. It's just that you don't have the freedom to be who you are necessarily under the umbrella of a corporation. And I want my sons knowing that. I didn't really fully understand that till I was in my mid-20s, 30s, probably. I want my children to fully understand that while they're developing and they're thinking about their strengths and goals and beliefs, that is a sacrifice that you've got to make. So don't send an email to something like that. The Rebel News is, they're promoting it like, in her words, like a fact-finding mission and all that. And she's like, this looks like it's more not fact-finding to me. You don't want that in writing. You don't want that electronically. If you have a beef with something like that corporate-wise, you want to to have a conversation where it's not recorded. It's not something that could be brought back up. That was the first probably red flag that probably led to her being fired just based on what she's saying more than anything else.
A lot of fun. My particular expertise is not in Middle Eastern issues whatsoever. I don't have a massive opinion on this stuff. And I'm just not comfortable telling the audience that we're going on a fact-finding mission that's actually a tour, right? So can I fundraise in some other way? Can I maybe just ask people in general for donations to Rebels? Say we need help, say we need...
Yeah, if you're going to do that type of thing, and another guy I like a lot is Jason Whitlock. And he's had issues underneath corporations where he's been. Now he's with Blaze and things look to be going well, but he has an independent spirit. And when you see her write that long email, basically coming at leadership saying, y'all are grifting to get money. And it's like more, even stronger than grifting, is like misleading, lying. She's not built for a corporation. Everybody knows, like you can think the government is a corporation. So just hypothetically think about a different island, different make-believe country, and you have a president of that country, and all this dirt comes out about his family, and it's even deeper than that because it ties into policy potentially as well. And then it also could expose some things where this hypothetical president wasn't telling the truth. You see how many people have to work for him? And they have to look at him in the face every day and say, hey, boss, hey, Mr. President, how you doing today? And in the back of your head, you're like, damn, you involved you and your family involved in some effed up stuff right now. You can't put that in writing when you're under a corporation. You can't be free. You can't bring that up. They all know. It's so awkward. They all know, like, this stuff is, they already knew it was there, but now everybody in the world knows it's there. How awkward do you think it is to be a media personality right now? Why do you think that Carrie Lake pumps me up? She's not culturally, but she used to be a news person. I think it was in Arizona. She used to be a news person, and she left because she's like, this industry isn't matching my morals. I can't change it. It's a big umbrella corporation. So I got to go on my own. And her calling wasn't comic books. It was to run for governor.
You know, obviously every company needs money to function and run. So can I just portray this in a different way that I feel is more honest to the audience? And maybe I'll even take a step back from the Israel trip. I don't have to go. I'm not a big fan of the structure. I didn't think I had done anything wrong. I thought that was like a very reasonable, well-measured approach to a situation that I was a bit uncomfortable with. But for some reason, I still had this sinking gut feeling that there was something bad about to happen. Went home, slept, got to work the next day, setting up my papers in the office, getting ready to write my video, and I get called into the general manager's office. I hadn't done anything wrong. I still hold that I had not done anything wrong, so I didn't think I had reason to be worried. But when they brought me in, I was told that I was being let go. I was being fired from the company.
And that's naivete. She sent an email calling out their lies and didn't think, she didn't do anything wrong, but she didn't think that she was going to get fired over that. She didn't understand corporate America. So bringing it over to Eric July, that's the power of him being independent. That's the power of him hiring these artists and people who have been in the comic book industry. They're drawing and they're writing for Marvel, and Marvel's doing things that are like, it's not really what they got into the business for. You can't write an email and say, why is Miles Morales wearing Jordan 1s? What's your agenda? Like, could you imagine the email? It's like, you guys, Miles Morales is being this like token character and he's wearing Jordan 1s. Is that kind of offensive or stereotypical? You're going to get fired. Like, and is Miles Morales, does he really need to be like the black face of every character out there? Like, does he need to be Thor? Does he need to be Spider-Man? Does he need to be Captain America? I know these are all imaginary worlds, but does that really need to happen? You can't, that's the equivalent of what she did, was send an email to the bosses, at Disney. And like, do we really need to do that? You can't. You can't do that. If you don't know Miles Morales, let me get a picture real quick. This is a comic book. So the Miles Morales was the somehow black and Puerto Rican Spider-Man, and then now they use him with the Jordan ones and the umbrella, the rainbow, and yeah, I know. It's just nothing against. If you like them, nothing against you. It's just not for me. And the point is, you can't send an email to your bosses about it. And that's where part of this, me teaching my kids, is teaching, like, remember when you were drawing that cartoon and you called this dude Axeman? You can actually write a story on your own. You don't have to go work for somebody else to do it. You do have to get business acumen, or if you don't, you'll have to work with somebody who knows money, has the business acumen, but you can do it on your own. You might need to actually do it on your own to actually make Axeman a real thing and to see if people really like Axeman. Here's the trailer. I'm going to go to the trailer that really got my kids and I pumped. Was the latest trailer for the Rippaverse. And then I'll be out on community, and then I'll read any comments. This is the first kind of story trailer from Eric July on the Rippaverse. Let me go ahead and share that right now. Really got me hyped.
ISOM issue number 1 is the first book released through Rippaverse Publishing, which makes it extremely significant. Though this is ISOM's self-titled book, it also serves as a launching pad for our entire universe. This 96-pager was written by myself, Eric July. The pencil and ink work was done by the great Cliff Richards, and the color work was done by Gabe El-Taib. 2 comic book veterans. This book is part 1 of the ill-advised arc, and it follows Avery Silman, who lives right outside of Flores Park, Texas, the place where he was born and raised. Now, Avery is what is known as an accept, which is what common folk in this area call special people. Years ago, shortly after he got his abilities, Avery decided to become a hero of sorts and adopted the moniker ISOM. But a certain event had him come to the realization that this life wasn't for him. So now he lives on his own ranch outside of the big city. One day, Avery gets a call from his sister Altona. She wants him to visit his old buddy because and apparently he has some connection to his family friend. Fontano has much changed since he was kicking it with Avery when they were, wee lads. Now he's a cold-blooded shot caller that isn't afraid to do what it takes to remain in his position as one of the most respected people in the city. This is a man that you do not want to cross. What was supposed to be a simple meetup with an old friend turns into the longest day of Avery's life. He runs into other accepts such as Santuan, Yaira, and the Alpha Court. And some of these altercations take a very violent turn considering his past with one of these characters. You can see why he tries to stay out of the city. Who is this family friend, and what is their connection with Darren Fontano? How does this meeting between him and Avery turn out? And does he get the information that Altona needs? How does this impact the psyche of Avery, who went from a hero to a now blue-collar civilian? These are all questions that will be answered in ISOM issue number 1, which you can now pre-order at ripperverse.com, along with some other limited edition merchandise items that will give you some more insight on the characters, such as
Earth, a place with such interesting beings. Like many other planets throughout the cosmos, their subjects have needless squabbles. But from those conflicts, I've discovered some creatures that could be of great use to our efforts. I'm not quite ready for the selection, but after many patient years, I feel it is time for more thorough documentation. This city is where we begin.
Excellent stuff. Got me excited for the storyline. Really good that he gave you a taste of it without giving too much. Gotta give a shout out to my wife. I didn't have any lunch yet, and she came by while we were watching that with some pasta and hot sauce. Love you, honey. Appreciate that. But let me see if I saw a comment from Candace. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job explaining it, or maybe it's I do struggle with this from time to time. Candace Bruner says, why would you bring up a personal issue like that example didn't equivalate? I wonder if she's talking about the Lauren Southern. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job because I got off on a tangent. I'm known to do that. But Lauren Southern can't be Lauren Southern underneath the umbrella of a corporation. And we are very often brought up to believe in certain things or just not shown an alternative. I never really looked at homeschooling until the last 2 years of my life. I'm 44. Homeschooling was always an option. It was always viewed kind of a negative thing. Growing up, at least for me, homeschooling where you won't be well adjusted. And same with going to college. Same with working with big corporations. There's pros to it. There's nothing wrong with it. But my point is that I want to make sure that my children look at people like Eric July and can see that you can make your own corporation, and it's not going to be as big as Disney. It just won't. If it did get as big as Disney, then it would be Disney. He wouldn't have any control over it anymore. It's very rare that you see like an Elon Musk. And even in his case, he will only have so much control over his creation. Eric July couldn't be Eric July without being independent. That's why this is a celebration. If Eric July had done this launch underneath the arc of Disney, I would still be, say Disney hired him. And that's what he thought he would do growing up. He thought he would work for Marvel or, not Disney obviously at the time, but Marvel or DC. Kind of a dream. And you grow up, you realize that ain't the dream. Because number one, they would never do anything like this. But number two, even if they did, he wouldn't have control over it. And that's what happened with Lauren Southern. So I maybe it's a bad tie-in, but it made me think of that. And that's part of the reason why this is very important to me. And I want my kids to have superheroes on the wall because they're dressing up as Flash and Batman. I love them. Batman's my favorite by far. Batman, Flash, Superman, all of them. But I want them to see you don't have to, just because maybe other kids at school don't know this superhero, it doesn't matter. We can put Yaira on the wall. And you can talk to other kids like, I read this book. I read this, my dad and I read this book, ISOM. It's pretty dope. I know it's not Superman or Batman, which I also love, but let me introduce this to you. That's how do you get your children to think independently? My kids are in public schools right now. So I've got to supplement their mindset with whatever they're getting there. And it's better to do it indirectly than to say, hey, be an independent thinker. What does it mean? You got to kind of show them how. You can support You can create your own thing. You don't have to wear Nikes. You can design your own damn Nikes. Pay someone to make it. Or you can buy a different brand, and as long as it fits your needs, it fits your needs. Even I, growing up in school, felt that pressure. In high school, I wanted to get Nikes, Reeboks, or whatever. Now I don't even know what brand name shoes I got. Costco's now. Give a damn about that. My thoughts, I'd rather put money into something like Young Rippa. And this came up online. And I want to, when I bring up these topics and talk with people about it, I want to bring it up in a way that we can have a conversation so I can better understand where some of these people are coming from, for example. And this person brought up their thoughts on Eric July. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay. And they're asking, well, why is there so much talk about Eric July right now? That's literally what their question was. Like, why is he getting so much press? Was even a comment. And I'm like, well, what press are you talking about? I don't see CNN, or not CNN, but I don't see mainstream outlets covering this. What kind of press do you mean? Here's the comment. So this affects more than just comic books. I mean, this is a mentality. This is independence. When you talk about liberty, what does it look like? This person, I don't know who it is, on Twitter says, okay, can someone explain to me why this Rippaverse stuff is getting so much press and social media push? I mean, nothing against it, but there are plenty of black creators. Interesting how that came up. There are plenty of black creators, because Eric July doesn't bring that up, that have done their own thing for years. Why is this all of a sudden a big deal? Indies, Comics Gate. And just someone broaching that question shows you that there's a mindset that's why I'm excited about what Eric July is doing. What is the mindset for someone who asked this question? So I can, if you ask this question and say, why is he getting so much press if you don't know him or stuff like that? That's a legitimate question. And social media push, we see what that means. What do you mean by social media push? They don't really know what that means. So that first part is perfectly fine. That's a legitimate question. And I wish they would have just broached it like that. Just say, hey, he's getting a lot of press, and for me, I even add like, no beef, props to him, congratulations. How is he able to do that? That would have been a well-worded question to create good discussion. But instead of being vulnerable and just asking that question so you can get help and get better understanding, this person says, I mean nothing against it, but you do mean something against it. There are plenty of black creators that have done their own thing for years. What does that have to do with anything? That has nothing to do with it. Nobody's brought that up. You in your head are thinking about that. Someone else says his popularity confounds me. Seems like a right place, right time of thing. He's never produced anything of value that I'm aware of. They're talking about Eric July. Was just one of very few black conservative. Jeez. He's not a conservative. Black conservative voices at a time when there wasn't much of an outlet for that. He's been milking that for years. You don't understand him. It's okay to be vulnerable, and I have to do that too. Because there was questions I had about a separate topic. I don't want to get a side note on Twitter. And I wanted to make sure that the person I was asking the question of knew I appreciated them. This wasn't a beef thing, because we're talking about text. We don't hear the tone. We're not talking to each other. We're not looking at each other in the eye. So I'm like, your work has been excellent, bro. That's not, and I could be missing something. I don't have the same interpretation than you do on this. Help me understand. And we ended it where we disagreed, but there's no blocking each other. There was no, he had his pace, his take, and I had my take, and we still continue on. And I don't think this is not a humble comment. You don't know anything about him if you're calling him a black conservative. You're ignorant and yet aggressive. That's a terrible combination to have. Eric July replied to this comment and said, it probably confounds you because you're not actually familiar with me at all. I'm not a conservative. So that line there basically tells us you don't even know. Even if you listen to him, you don't understand him. And the same would apply to me. I don't call myself a conservative. I don't care if you want to call me that or not, but because it goes from issue to issue. And some issues I might be, some issues I'm not. That goes for everybody. And then, they had an exchange. It's like, yeah, you're an anarcho-capitalist. Watched you for a bit a couple years back. Didn't disagree with you often. For what it's worth, I do wish you success on your endeavor. We need more good comics, and I'll always support that. So what was this? It's okay. I was talking about Daily Wire and their success. And somebody replied to me on Twitter, did they pay you? Why are you simping for them, or whatever, whatever slang you want to use for, dick riding or whatever it is. And I'm like, why do I need to be paid to talk about the bigger picture and the importance of having counterbalance to the discussion? I would love to see a libertarian Daily Wire. I would love to see a populist left Daily Wire. It's not that I agree with everything with them and I don't want any other competition. I'm just like, we finally have people who will say, nah, I don't think I'm going to subscribe to gender theory, that have a significant subscriber base, money, and then that gets them power so we can have counterbalance. We don't have free speech without counterbalance. And that's the importance here of Eric July. So this person here talks about other black creators. That's the power of what Eric July has done. And you look at the quote tweets, because he's someone who has already built a strong community who trusts that he will deliver a high quality product and keep delivering that product. He's also made a network of friends and colleagues who want to help him succeed, and none of it has anything to do with race. That's why you don't understand. This person live in a world where everything has to do with race. They can't even comprehend that feedback. Like, it's not about race. He made the main character, Isom, has dark skin. Nobody cares. He's not making it about that. It's about the stories. And then on top of that, it's nothing against the other black creators. I'm not aware of them. Maybe you could use this moment to say, props to Eric. Maybe you'll like these other ones. Wouldn't that have been much more powerful? Because I don't know all these comic books. Wouldn't it be more powerful if Will had said, much respect to Eric. Look at this, creating, kind of moving things out the way for other people to do this. Here's some other creators, don't even call them black. Here's some other creators that have stuff. If you like Eric's stuff, you might like this other stuff. It's not a battle. I mean, it is kind of like when you're competing business wise, but it's not like Eric's success demeans somebody else or doesn't allow for someone else's success. More comments. It's not his race. It's almost as if we're not the ones obsessing over Eric's race. They're coming in trying to tell you why this is happening. And I'm going to end with the power of community. That's the power of community. Eric is in different, whether it's the Mises Caucus or the comic book guys like Geeks and Gamers and all them. I'm not I don't know all of them, but I watch a little bit of them. I've got into them partly because of him. This dude is RK Ryan. I listen to his commentary too. And I got to check out Pop Culture Crisis with Tim Pool. Great show. I haven't watched their stream in a while. I'm wondering if they've brought this up. I think they would. If presented, they might not even, be fully aware of it. So I might go try to holler at them on Twitter or something, because I think they'll be open to feedback to say, hey, don't cover it, but hey, take a look at what's happening. This is definitely pop culture. So this person on that tweet was talking about why all this coverage is happening. And I replied to them like, what do you mean by all this press coverage? I haven't seen any major press outlet cover the Rippaverse. These are independent creators. We come back again to that independent idea, that independent concept. I'm as independent as you could get. A guy in his basement with a camera and a mic. Literally no investors or anything like that. I can talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. So I could talk about Rippaverse. Lauren Southern, if I was working for, forget about Lauren Southern, if I were working for Rebel, could I talk about Rippaverse? I'd have to ask my boss. That's the power this person doesn't understand. He's not getting press coverage. He's getting independent media coverage, or independent creator coverage, or guys in their house in a room with a camera coverage. That's the power of connecting and networking. That's why I love connecting with Ray Studios and Sweet Home California and Will Cormier and Carlos and everybody. We gotta, and that's why I'm very big on it. And Eric July brought this up in his live. I wish I had clipped it, man. It's just, his lives are like 3 hours. I wish you could clip a live while it was live. I don't think you can do that. Maybe I'll work and see if I can get placeholders, because he said it so well. This was in his live. I think it was on Saturday. And I didn't know there was beef. So somebody replied to Rip and was like, man, this is beautiful to see independent creators who even have beef with each other actually kind of coming together in a way to support this launch of yours. And Eric July is like, why do we even need, first of all, he's like, appreciate them keeping me out of their beef, because I don't have beef with anybody. If you know Eric July, though, if you come at him wrong, he'll come back at you wrong. I think that's fair. But if you're respectful to him, no matter what your take is, he'll be respectful back. There is no disrespect that is initiated from Young July. Don't get that twisted, because people might try to twist that to you. But what he was saying was, like, why do we need to beef? We agree on 75%, 80%, 85%. We agree on liberty. What are we beefing about? One, two, one, two. Am I back? Am I back? My laptop died. Speaking of independent stuff, yeah, I think my mic's working. My laptop died. I got to get an adapter. I can't have my camera mixer, so my camera and mic can't be plugged in at the same time as my laptop anymore, and I've got to get that addressed. That is an issue that needs to be addressed. But I was talking about working with people, and I there's creators who I really respect that they spend time on personal disagreements. And what I like about Eric July is that ain't what he does. If somebody comes at him sideways, he will monetize them, but that isn't what he does. He doesn't try to look for that kind of thing. I respect that a lot. That's how he's built a community. For example, he was on that one of the best You Are Here's ever. The show's over now with Elijah and Sydney Watson. They had Nick Fuentes on there, and who else was on there? Eric July. Eric July doesn't agree with Nick Fuentes on a lot of things, but he can exist with the dude. And Nick Fuentes never comes on, from obviously doesn't come at you sideways. So then Eric July's fine. We can agree, disagree. We can still talk. And that's how, to me, you build a community. He's not burning bridges. He's not unnecessarily fighting. He even talked about in his live, yeah, I've come at these social justice warriors sideways after they come at me, but we're never going to build. Like, there's no need for me to keep a bridge alive with them. So, Gene Dumas, thanks for the $20 super chat. Great, intelligent commentary. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hanging in through all the kinks. And I've got no camera now. This is the camera that you're going to get from me right now. That's a message. It's down. Eric July, when his camera runs out of battery, you might have seen him do tokenized Bane. It is so funny. So I got to figure out something there too. Oh no, I'm good, Gene. I'll go get it. I'll have to look it up. I have to make sure that the adapter can power the laptop. I just need one more USB-C outlet. So I appreciate it. But yeah, that's it, man. Celebrate. Let's check in real quick. I'm gonna check in to see if well, I'll check in about comments here, and then I'm gonna check in real quick and see if Rippa has officially crossed the 1 million mark yet. Okay, here we go. What are we gonna see here? And then I'm going to do more in-depth stuff with the story and talking about the comic book on my other channel. So I'll probably post some links to that in the community center section when I do that. Oh, so close. Oh, 4 G's from 1 million. Did he go live today? Let me check real quick and see if he went live. He probably gonna want to go live when he goes across 1 million if he can. I have not seen him go live today. 4,000 away from the $1 million mark. Hopefully I've done well enough to show why I'm excited about it. And I think my role is just to help create awareness. Going back to the chat, just want to see if I missed anything in here. Ryan says, I have my kids in Catholic school. Homeschool isn't off the list, though. Yeah, gotta keep my options open. It would be a significant sacrifice, but for me at least, because my wife and I both work, so that would have to change. Something that's on my mind, that's for sure. Oh, Candace Burner commented back. Okay, Candace Burner said, this is the problem. She should have, and everyone else should have called out BS and should all the time. Just going along with that crap corruption like it's just normal or well is why corruption reigns right now. bars. So Candace, if you're just joining, Candace Berners was talking about the commentary I was making about Lauren Southern. So let me be clear. I don't want it to come across as I was saying Lauren Southern should have been quiet. I was just saying that. So Lauren Southern, if you didn't hear, we were talking about earlier, she sent an email to her company that she was working with at the time, Rebel News, that she thought they were doing something that was against her morals. Like it was a very respectful, nothing disrespectful in the email. And Candace is saying, yes, Lauren, you did the right thing. You should have spoken up. And I agree. I mean, if that's what you want to do, but understand you can't do that under a corporation. You're fired. Gone. You see in the military, somebody spoke out in criticism of Jill Biden, suspended. Boom, suspended. And then this other member of the military says they hate their country because of the Roe v. Wade decision. Nothing happened there. So the corporation can pick and choose based on their ideology. You can sue or whatever, but it takes a lot of money and time. But I agree. Yep. Candace also says she's considering it. It's in the back of my mind. Thankfully, my almost 6-year-old had a great kindergarten teacher. I saw no issues there, but I'm keeping an eye on it for sure. As a guy of Slavic ancestry, this is from Ryan, it bothers me so much to lump all people of a group. My family was taught how to grow cotton by freed slaves. Wow. Not all Black people have the same experiences. Yeah. Yep, I agree. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out. Appreciate it. Ripperverse represent.